Please start.
All right.
All right. Hi, everybody.
We've got a short echo, so I apologize for that. All right, I think here we go. Welcome, everybody. Good day from around the world to another episode of VCTV. Today, we're going to be covering the topic about fundraising in an era of a pandemic. I'm joined with some fantastic speakers from around the world. Bring a big bunch. I got muted for just a moment there, but nonetheless, we've got a ton to cover to share with you some insights from each of us around the world on what's happening in the world, what's happening in the venture space, how you can navigate it as an investor or as an entrepreneur, and what to do to weather through this storm, and maybe what's to come as well in some of these specific industries. So before I get started, I do want to give a chance for everyone to give a quick introduction and their thoughts on where things are today and where things may be going. So with that being said, I want to start on the to my left over here, or to my right, depending on which side of the screen. Dion, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you. Could you give a quick introduction, kind of your general 30-second thoughts on where everything is today and where we're going?
Sure, happy to. Nice to see everybody. So I'm Dion DeLoof with AI8 Ventures out of San Francisco, and we're an early and growth stage venture fund. And we predominantly, for us, focus on fintech, early stage and growth equity stage, sort of B rounds and later, traditionally, companies. And so, you know, where I see things and look forward to our conversation is really specifically in fintech and fintech 2.0. The advent of mobility and mobility in low orbit satellites, mobility being in everyone's hands in first, second, and third world countries, combined with data insights. What we're seeing then with COVID is, you know, the new touchless push is our companies, and I think the trend is anyone that can interact in financial services, broadly speaking. You know, it used to be a lot around impact and inclusion, and it still is, but in what I call post-COVID times is any touchless offerings that are offering to a user essential services, or, you know, what we're seeing there is actual increased growth for those companies in COVID times.
Great, and welcome to the show. And next, over here on my right or my left, again, depending on which side, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Sure, yeah, thanks, Kyle, appreciate it. So my name's Andrew Bull. I'm the founding partner of Bull Blockchain Law. We're a law firm that specializes in blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. Back in the day in law school, I wrote my thesis about the regulation of cryptocurrencies. That was about in 2013. Anyway, so we represent pretty much all entities in space across the board, from exchanges to miners to those raising funds, small fintech startups, pretty much anything that has anything to do with DLTs or blockchain technology. But yeah, so a little bit of census on regards to the current state of the industry. I'd say that from a legal perspective, just being a lawyer, there's a lot of obligations and regulatory ramifications for the way that people communicate. And I think that pre-COVID, this was less of an important topic because a lot of people could meet in person. There were physical attributes to being able to fundraise. And now there is this really revamped digital space that we kind of all need to be cognizant of. And regulators are very much not turning blind eyes to general solicitation requirements and things like that. So more than happy to touch on that stuff as we get through it.
Awesome. Sounds great. Excited to dive into that. Next up, we have Frank.
Sure. Hi. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Yep.
I guess I have two hats on today. On the one hand, I'm in the jury and in the speaker section, but on the other hand, we also have our own fintech startup. And so I'm a co-founder and managing director of Lendery.net. It's basically a margin funding service, which produces an alternative fixed income product for our users. And so I would say I'm mostly interested generally in alternative investment products. And of course, I'm hoping a bit that the current market crash will put alternatives more into the focus. We've seen that hedge funds are at least having inflows again or doing better, and maybe the same will be true for even more innovative blockchain based, or at least startups who are based in the crypto space and offering new interesting products. So I would hopefully see some startups today that will be active in that space.
I love it. We're happy to have you. And next up, I want to bring up Gayatri from Hype Capital.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, this is Gayatri. Super excited to join from Boston. I am a managing partner of Hype Capital. It's an Israeli-based fund. We invest mostly in early stage startups. So we have the largest accelerators, mostly sports focus or TMT focus. And we recently did the world's first sports blockchain accelerator with the Tisch family and with the New York Giants. It was amazing and interesting opportunity for a lot of startups, especially tech startups, to come and find use cases with the crypto and blockchain background in TMT space. My background is former Goldman Sachs, Federal Reserve Bank. I got into blockchain around 2011. I started writing a little bit about this, what is going on, mostly from the investment perspective. So it's very interesting to see how the world is moving, especially post 2018. What I find over here is that COVID-19 is mostly a stress test. It's not only a stress test on our economy and our society, but also on individuals, on our leadership, but also on startups and incumbents. You know, if your startup doesn't have that runway, if your startup has a churn rate higher or lower, or burn rate higher and lower, you're going to face that. And if you have been putting off your fundraising schedule for a pretty longer period of time, you need to find out, okay, right now, finance is the key, and you want to have more opportunities in terms of price rounds and money rounds at this point of time, because money is the key right now. And we are seeing a lot of furloughs, a lot of layoffs within our startups, and most of our VC funds, we are trying to inject a lot of cash for our existing startups to keep them alive. And I think this is an opportunity for everybody to think that how can you create a business which is more like a natural system, which can absorb shock and it can grow and adopt. So I think this is an opportunity for us to relook, you know, all our business models and the opportunities that we are creating.
Agreed. And we're going to dive a lot deeper into that topic here in just a few minutes. Dirk, welcome to the show.
Hi, my name is Dirk Leitner. I'm based here in Silicon Valley. I'm also wearing two hats. On one hand, I'm founder of a company called Upland Me, which is a game, has been, called in the press, monopoly based on the blockchain. So what you can do by virtual properties based on real world addresses, and it has a real economy behind it. So that's my one hat. My other hat is I'm also Accelerator. So I'm a mentor at the German Accelerator, where I've mentored over 30 startups. My focus there is also on blockchain, and especially blockchain companies coming over from Germany, also some other countries I'm helping out, who are trying to conquer the US market and getting in there. My particular interest is in how, especially in this COVID-19 era, how social, people are changing the way they behave, and especially when you're looking at games. People will start making money in games. They're investing into games because games are one of the big industries who benefit from the current crisis, because people are home doing things from home. But this has probably a broader impact than just playing. It has an impact that maybe people again make money or invest in those games, and that's an interesting impact on society.
Awesome, welcome. Next up, I want to welcome Ashton to the show.
Thank you very much, Kyle. Ashton Addison here, founder of Event Chain, blockchain secured event ticketing platform. As well, I do wear another hat. I host the Crypto Coin Show on YouTube and Reuters Insider Financial Network, which interviews startups and founders. So check that out. I want to talk a little bit about the event situation and raising capital at events and how that's changed since COVID. Investors, it seems they are still sitting at home on their computers looking for opportunities, especially with the market volatility, and just in different ways. And it's been, at first it seemed a struggle for a lot of event organizers on how are they going to pivot their events to virtual in such a short amount of time. But with Zoom they've done such a great job. Even LA Token's done such a great job on all these virtual events. I think it's really brought the community closer together since the pandemic has started, which has been great. And there also have been softwares like GoToWebinar and Remo for breakout rooms. And throughout this past week, even just the virtual blockchain week that was hosted by the Bad Crypto podcast, we saw it did 5 straight days of like all of the top speakers in blockchain, and that's still live on YouTube right now. So I think that's actually done quite a good job for the community. And one other topic I want to discuss regarding this is 3D virtual events, you know, in things like, you know, you could even use Dirk's Upland, I'm sure, to bring people in and communicate inside of virtual rooms. But, you know, Blockdown 2020, which was a blockchain conference held in Cinespace, essentially brings you into virtual reality, and you have full proximity to go into private rooms and speak with people and incorporate Zoom into theater halls. And there are a lot of pitch competitions going on in these 3D virtual worlds and on Zoom. So it seems like the event industry is actually adjusting pretty well. And I think that it's really bringing us all closer together. So, you know, we might as well look at this as a positive from the COVID situation. But it'll be interesting to see the increased security and the protocols that come back when we do have live events in person. And I'm looking forward to those as well.
Couldn't agree more. And a big shout out to our entire team at LA Token who helped put all this together for us. VCTV, we do this every week, multiple times a week, bringing on great guests and also great speakers and startups to have a chance to pitch to the broader community. So couldn't agree more. Next up, I want to welcome Yana. I think you're down here in the corner. Wanted to welcome you to the show.
Oh, you mean me?
Yes.
I'm Janina, sorry.
Yeah, Janina, I'm so sorry.
Dion. I'm Yana Petrovsky. Hi, everyone. Great to see all of you. We are LP lawyers based in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. We have been mainly involved in investment deals and blockchain projects, of course, because Switzerland and Liechtenstein have been very popular for blockchain projects during the last 3 years. And my question to you, sorry if it's a little bit off top, have you ever been to Liechtenstein, or do you know where it is located?
I have never been there. We've got one. Dirk's been there.
I'm going to show you the Princely Castle because it just you would be able to see it from the window. Oops. No, not yet.
Almost. Sorry. Little did you know, everybody, we were going on a virtual tour today of the world. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Yeah.
Great. Great. Yes, it's just a tiny state in Europe with 38,000 of population and with one and unique blockchain act. That's about Liechtenstein. So what we are dealing with right now as lawyers, we are dealing mostly with worst case scenarios, of course. As Gayatri told, it's a stress test for everyone, and especially for startups and investors, to see what risks were actually covered and which not. For example, we deal a lot with conflicts of shareholders, and we see some of them just didn't really have a shareholders agreement. Oops. Yeah. Of course, we for some of them which didn't really have reserves, we applied for funding because Swiss government, for example, they have special funding for startups. We see, of course, less security token offerings. There have been quite a lot in both Switzerland and Liechtenstein last year. For now, we see less and less requirements for security token offerings, and the ongoing projects, they have to adjust their demands. Of course, they have to lower it. And we see more and more requests for crypto exchanges and payment solutions, just as Andrew told. Yeah, that's basically it, what we see right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you and welcome to the show, and thank you for the virtual tour. Looks gorgeous. Last up, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Greg. Welcome to the show. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, there we are. Hey, thanks, Cal. Good to be in LA virtually, I guess, from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So I'm managing partner of fund of funds, small fund of funds under $1 billion. We raise 300 million at a time. We're best known for our returns. Our 9-year all-time or all fund net return average is about 28.9%. So we're very heavily involved in fund investing. 70% of our assets are funds, 30% are in directs. And we've seen, I think, the gamut of on our direct side and our fund side of reactions to COVID, but certainly it's changed everything. And I don't think we're going to return to a normal or what we had previously to our March lives anytime soon. And it's fascinating, if you're a fan of history, to study the Spanish flu. The first waves of deaths were relatively small. The second wave of death was massive. And a lot of things happened to encourage that. You know, we are all hopeful, I think, fingers crossed, that we find a solution to this, either through a vaccine or a treatment. And we're, you know, the sooner the better. Until that happens, I think our lives are all going to be severely disrupted, and it doesn't look like a reset to any normal that any of us have ever known.
No, and thank you and welcome to the show. And we're going to talk a little bit about what all of that means in the context of fundraising in general, because as you said, things are different. Things have changed. You know, fundraising in January and February versus March was very different versus today and even going forward for the rest of the year. So let's start with our very first question. And Greg, we'll start with you. Is how has fundraising changed, or how will fundraising change the process? I mean, you work as a fund of funds. I know you guys do some direct deals, but what are things that are changing? I mean, what have you heard from your general partners in the funds? What are you guys seeing differently as we look towards the future of fundraising during and after this pandemic?
Yeah, so I think it depends on who you're fundraising for. If you're fundraising for a company, you'd better have a pretty deep bench of investors, because we're in a period of risk off right now. And we really just in the last couple of weeks entered that period of risk off. It's been fascinating to me to listen to and to read the emails from our funds about how, you know, we are 100%, 110% focused on doing new deals and finding great companies. And the reality is, when we take a look at our company bench, there really haven't been a lot of companies added. There have been more companies that have received support, certainly, than companies that have been added to the new company investments. And I think it's just going to be really difficult, particularly in the private world, to get stuff done. We as a partnership, we are in California every week. And none of us been to California since March the 2nd. So it's a crazy time for us, because we build our investment base by doing meetings. And our whole style is predicated on, you know, the energy that you feel when you're in a room with a partnership. You observe how they manage their relationships, how they manage their conversations. And without that, it's really hard to operate in a vacuum. And, you know, returns matter more than any other time. We had 4 partnerships that closed funds in the first quarter. We have 2 that are closing in the second quarter. And they're both funds that are, you know, I won't say household names, but have really strong return records and are able to pick up the phone and call the LPs and say, do you want to be in? How much do you want? And unless you're a partnership in that kind of a position, I think it's going to be really hard to raise money. I mean, we have a rule that we don't write checks unless we meet with people. And we've talked at length in our partnership about how do we maintain that? Do we maintain that? Or, do we try and find another way through referral networks to be able to write checks and chefs? It's a difficult question. We don't have an answer yet, but our initial answer is we're going to hold the line, and until we meet people, we're not going to write checks. And I think there's probably a large percentage of the LP base that is going to fall into that same category. This is unusual for a lot of reasons. The stock market is sitting at levels that make no sense to us. And I think we all marvel that, it's kind of like we call it the Wile E. Coyote market, because, Wile E. Coyote runs over the edge of the cliff and he just keeps running until he stops and looks down and sees there's nothing underneath him. And then, he hurdles to his next, epic event. And we feel like it's a Wile E. Coyote market right now on the public side. And that will eventually bleed through to if indeed it is, that eventually bleeds through to the private markets. So we're all just, sitting here crossed fingers, crossed toes, hoping that this is a bridge and not a pier event.
Yeah, and I see all the other speakers shaking their heads, so it feels like everyone else has got something to say. And I'm gonna go family Brady Bunch style, and Dion, I'm gonna get to you. Don't worry. But Gayatri, I see you shaking your head left and right over there, and same question to you is, what does fundraising look like? And very specific to you, I mean, you guys are running not only a fund but an accelerator. You're working someone who's done that as well. Like, there's a lot of intricate pieces there. How does the future of fundraising look going forward? And what are you kind of giving as advice to the companies you work with?
Yeah, I agree with Greg. There's a lot of uncertainty, especially a fund like ours. We work from Israel. I sit in Boston, other partners sit in Germany. And our accelerators like all over the world, from Taiwan to Germany to London to everywhere. So it is not an easy environment that we are living in right now. And we were launching our world's first esports accelerator with Lagardère, SK Gaming, FC Cologne, and suddenly this happened and we have to stop. So we don't know the opportunity of virtual accelerator, that how it is being done, and we had to pivot. So I think, like many of us, the businesses, we have to do something like that. We have to now take pitches online because we don't have a choice. I haven't seen my partner since January, so this is how the situation is right now, because the world has changed. And now the world is demanding how we are going to change, because there are certain businesses that has the runway, they can survive, but some businesses may not survive, and we should be ready for many of such portfolios of ours that they will not be able to survive. And I have always said that TMT space or sports space, and I'm not someone who is an expert in TMT or sports space, but currently I'm an investor, a tech investor in this space. And I've always said, this is a very non-cyclical industry. Whether there's a recession, depression, everybody is going to go watch sports. TMT, entertainment, is something that's going to survive. But we are seeing that, there are situations that can happen that can bring things down. So obviously, there are certain areas of the sports, like esports gaming, that are doing amazing. There are certain areas of the e-commerce, certain areas of the entertainment industry, the streaming industry, that are surviving, that are doing amazing. So there are, as I said, opportunities everywhere. And I completely agree with Greg. What we are seeing right now, as it not only is unprecedented, but also it is showing the true colors of many things, how the economy is dealing with, because we have been using a lot of stopgap solution for a very long time. And we thought our idiosyncratic risk will not converge to systemic risk for a very long time. But the COVID-19 pushed that okay, our idiosyncratic risk can merge into systemic risk at a very short period of time. And a lot of cases, we are unable to assess the externality that's going to create in the second wave. And I think we are enabling various functions right now, whether in our economy, whether through stimulus package, and I'm specifically talking about US, that some of them are by default going to bigger institutions, bigger companies, whether it's supposed to be for a small business. And also the way we are hell-bent on opening the economy. And I completely understand that we cannot everybody stay under closed doors, but we have to find what is the right balance. And when it comes to fundraising, I think every fund has their own mandates of looking at things. And for us, we need to find out what's the balance. Like, how can we take pitches online? Because there are a lot of difficulty. Like most of our, through our accelerator programs or others, what we do is that when those startups come, we actually help them to integrate their products with some of the top, TMT businesses, some of the top sports clubs. But right now, we cannot do that. So it's a very different world that we are seeing right now. And from the fund perspective, we are currently not taking any new opportunities right now, because we are trying to help all our existing portfolio companies. And we don't know, as I said, how many of them will survive, but we are trying to help as many as possible, being on their board. And these are all early stage companies, not in series B and C. But obviously we will see certain other companies from our funds, which have done an IPO and others, they're also finding what's the right balance. And these are all tech companies. So obviously that's very helpful for us. But at the same time, I feel like there are a lot of noise that's going around in the system. And a few days ago, I was spending one of my Saturday morning, very lucky to do that, with the father of system thinking, Peter Senge. He's a MIT professor, and he told us one thing, that how can we attend our attention? There's a lot of noise, and right now we have to be very disciplined, and this is a better time to be much more consistent and disciplined. What you can do, how you can plug your products, which may not be seeing an opportunity right now, but how can you plug your products with some of this remote system that are doing pretty well? How can you help your product beyond the price wall strategy? You're seeing Zoom that has gone from 10 million to 200 million to 300 million active users. You're seeing GitHub that is becoming completely free for all time. So there are opportunities, there are price strategies, there are opportunities to find newer, product community, newer opportunities to attack the end users, which you have not done that. So take that opportunities, and obviously fundraising is going to play an important role in this situation, but we need to find out how you can pitch your investors and build a relationship. And right now, virtually is the only opportunity right now to build relationships. So find those key ways to do that.
Well, and I think you're bringing up a part of a theme that we're going to continue to hear with everyone else, is that everyone's learning from this experience, right? We're all having to shift and make changes. And, when it comes time to pitch, there is still a way to build a relationship. It just may take a little bit more time, but be trying, continue to put forth that effort. And when it comes to your products, you've got the biggest test bed in the world and potentially ever in history right now. Try everything, because you either survive or you may not, or you may find a new path. But I won't go too deep in that. I want to make sure everyone else has a chance too. So Yanina, what are you seeing in this change of the fundraising environment? I mean, where are we going? Where are we going here in the next couple months?
I think we as lawyers, we only follow the economy.
That's okay.
Yeah,
that's
okay. We only follow the economy when we just provide a framework if any deals are there. And of course, we'll see a huge decline in any deals, just as Craig and Gayatri told, they do not invest in any new projects, or do not, for now at least, consider new opportunities. What we have seen, that the ongoing SEO projects, of course, they had to adjust their demands. They had to lower the amounts that they are going to raise. they had to cut all of their costs and really see that they're going to save up money to survive and not to burn investors' money as some of them used to do in the past. I think it's a very good experience also for a lot of startups, in my opinion. As Gayatri told, it's a time where they can show their true colors, do more with less resources. Cut everything starting from labor, from personnel to offices, applying for reserves, applying for some extensions when paying taxes and other things, being really creative to survive, and being also really creative in terms of negotiating options with the team. And negotiating between founders when they see that they're not going to raise the amount of money that they would actually need for their development, or they think that they're going to need. They really have to be fast and flexible and creative to adjust. And we just support those who are able to do so. And I believe that only those projects will really survive. Yeah.
And I think that's another key point: fast and flexible, and then creative, right? Fast and flexible. I mean, this is changing and moving every day in some cases, right, around the world, and being ready to adopt and make those changes. And I'm curious and excited to see where the STO market goes in the coming future. But Dirk, question same to you, but a little bit of a spin. I mean, you do a little bit of the cross-border bouncing back and forth and investing, as I have as well. And what are you seeing change? Are people still looking for international capital? Are they kind of holding back, or is it all just flat?
No, I think since, we were in general in this trend that everything was going international anyway. So, especially in the blockchain space, I think there's not a big of change. But to speak very concretely, when you think about, the way Silicon Valley and other, investment hubs worked is, was very much on, you meet people for coffee for the first time, and then, then you start establishing some kind of relationship. All that is gone. And so this is, let's say, in quotation marks, a little bit bad for the people who live in Silicon Valley now. And it's good for those who are not there in the Midwest. They don't have to travel a lot.
I've got my coffee with you this morning. So we're building a relationship while I'm having coffee. So we'll continue.
But so that's something you have to have in mind, so that this is going away. And I want to maybe focus a little bit on this whole process when you're a company, when you want to raise, when you're global, especially when you want to raise in the US, of course, people, they have different behaviors and so on. What I mean by that is, since everyone's going digital now in the pitch process, because the coffee meeting is going away, is you have to really prepare your pitch in a very, very, not a very different way, but you have to address the current issue. That means, for instance, especially when you're coming from Europe, the art of pitching is completely different. The Europeans tend to pitch very detail-oriented, and probably have heard all that, right? While Americans, they pitch much more story-wise. But if you're coming from Europe and you want to pitch in the US, really, really try to see how the US pitches in a certain way. But then when you do the pitch itself, you have also be aware, because normally when you sit in a room with someone, right, and you can see, the body gestures, what is he smiling? Is he, doing this or whatever? Some of those things are going away. And when you're a good entrepreneur in pitching, you understand those signals, and then you can adopt, when you talk about the topic, you see you're boring the investor, right? And you should quickly swap maybe the topic. So you have to be aware of that. So what we recommend, or what I would recommend when you prepare your pitch, see it like when you have an orchestral piece, right? There's some drama in there going up and down, and prepare everything around it so the people you keep the attention up. People always say, usually, investors, looking at the investors also in this round, do their decision within, 1 to 5 minutes. They know, okay, this is something I want to do. This fits my investment thesis or not. And then the last maybe 30, 35 minutes during a pitch, polite if they're not, not really interested, right? In this case, it might change a little bit, and be aware that you maybe have to, see what your investor is really looking for. Really try to be really precise and what he says in his current portfolio is, does it really fit it? Also include in your pitch maybe one slide which addresses particularly the issues we all run into with COVID-19. That means, how do you manage your team today, right? I mean, you used to be in one room. Now everyone, does the productivity go down or does it go even up, right? What does it mean when you want to, find new customers, right? Now you cannot go to trade shows anymore. How do you find the customers? What is your approach to that, right? So don't just do your standard pitch deck and say, well, they're going to understand, we're going to adopt. No, be really, really concise about everything you do and show that you understand the current challenges which are there. I think then you have a better chance. And again, understand cultures of pitching differently, especially when the US. Especially when you're global entrepreneur, let's say, what I mean with that, outside of the US, take the opportunity, but understand how people pitch over here as well. I think there's a lot of, YouTube content and lots of things around there. Or join an accelerator. I can speak also for the German accelerator. Of course, we've gone virtual as well. But we do a lot of Skype calls or Zoom calls or whatever technology we're using. And take advantage of those accelerators, international accelerators, to understand how to tackle the market.
It's a good point on the go-to-market, though. That's generally a very standard slide, right? A very standard pitch for everybody. And now that does change dramatically. Speaking about how you're going to find those customers, where you're going to find those, I think that's something that's is going to get challenged quite more frequently than it has in the past. And the distributed teams. That's a very insightful piece. I didn't even think about that too. How are you managing your team? How is your handling your workflow? If everyone's, to Gayatari's point, if everyone's hasn't seen each other for 3 months physically and you're in different parts of the world, how are you handling that? And how are you covering maybe certain gaps that you weren't before? And is it improving, or are you looking to fundraise to improve it as well? It's a great point, Dirk. Thank you for that. Ashton, same question to you. How are we improving this fundraising process? I mean, coming from your worlds, both as an entrepreneur from the journalist side and then also the event side, what are you seeing as where we're going to go for the future of fundraising?
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. And great points brought up by Dirk. There's all of these challenges that these companies are facing, and I think just coming out with the response, which is most important. As long as your company has a plan. For example, with the events industry, as long as you're taking care of your customers, getting on the softwares right away from day one, making sure that you're helping your customers adopt to, if it's Zoom or if it's a 3D event from their in-person event, so you can keep your customer retention, keep your cash flows intact. And on the fundraising side, ensuring that, if you aren't in a strong position, what are the details in terms of how the pandemic has affected your company? Have you had to lower your cash flows? Are you managing your burn rate? And then the valuation, it seemed like raising capital in 2019 and near the beginning of last year, it's almost like you're in a bull market, right? The stock market's reaching all-time high. It was a lot easier to pitch investors because people are at the top of their game, right? They're looking to spend capital. So I think just understanding that it is going to be tougher. You may have to lower your valuation. You may have to do more negotiations, but it doesn't mean that they're not looking to invest. As long as the investors can get a good deal, they will invest. It's just a matter of, okay, here's our game plan. Here's the obstacle at hand. Here's our game plan to get around that. And depending on the industry, obviously events have been affected more so than some of the other industries, but as long as you have a plan, I think that the investors have their ears open and, they have more time now than ever sitting on their computers. If you can convince them that you have what it takes to get around this plan, then they will invest.
It's a very good point as well. Frank, same question to you. What are you seeing a little differently? I mean, you're kind of in this world as also having your own startup as well. So what are you seeing differently on the fundraising landscape?
Yeah, I would agree with the previous speakers. I think it's a large divide that's happening. So there are new winners and losers, and it's kind of everything is turned upside down. But maybe I would want to deliberately focus a bit more on the maybe positive aspects that come about as well, or the niches where it might actually be a good thing that we're seeing some shifts. One way of looking at this would be to say that certain industry who have traditionally been more slower in picking up technology, or particularly digitization, something like finance or education and healthcare, are now forced to picking this up very quickly. So it's an acceleration that's happening there, and this is from the user side, but also from regulator side, from institutions and governments who realize, okay, we have to live in this world now, and suddenly things go much faster. Even here in Germany, where we are basically usually 10 years behind in those industries in terms of digitization. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, apart from the, of course, obvious ones in gaming, e-commerce, and so on. And then the second thing is, I would see a pretty big differentiation between what stage of company you are in right now. So what I'm hearing that the companies who are most in trouble are the ones who are not yet large enough in order to have enough cash, or maybe SaaS models that are not being canceled or reduced or so. But on the other hand, already so large that they have costs in order to run, and maybe the last financing round is 2 years ago or something. Those are the companies who are really in trouble, and we might see many of them getting wiped out or heavily reduced. And on the other hand, the companies who haven't been started yet, or the pre-seed stage models, maybe we will see some of those today. They might be not in a really bad position, because there's always supply and demand, right, in the funding market, and there are some competitors who are not quitting their jobs now. There are some startups who are not founded right now, and the ones who do it might have a head start. So if you have, I don't know, 1 or 1.5 years of capital to live off, and you have a really good idea, then it might be good. It might be a good time to go ahead and really focus on that now, and spend all of your day inside your home or wherever, and create a new product. Actually,
well, you got nowhere else to go. So yeah, put the time and effort in. You got nowhere else to go. Maybe you're playing some esports, or thinking about where country you may want to start raising from, or go on a virtual tour. But you're right. You got nowhere else to go. Andrew, same question to you. What are you seeing differently in this fundraising environment? I mean, you kind of border the worlds of blockchain, crypto, but more from the legal perspective, though. What are you seeing differently?
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's more consideration regarding how the information is being transferred, and specifically, and of course, it depends on the type of regulation exemption that you're seeking for your fundraising, or maybe you're going to become a public reporting company. And I'm talking specifically within the US right now. But a lot of companies who have their websites up and operational, and they're saying that they're raising funds, if they have a portal where they're basically allowing traffic to streamline into the website, and then have those people access these investor docs, they need to be relatively careful from a regulatory perspective, especially if you're not partnering with a third-party financial institution or a broker-dealer. Because at the end of the day, governmental agencies like the SEC here in the States, they're going to be very much concerned with the consumer protection element of all of this, of making sure that those who are potentially going to participate in the overall raise actually have not only access to the information, but also were vetted in the proper channels. And so for those out there that are in early stage development and maybe have a website where their investor docs are up, I would just maybe tell them to take consideration of what type of exemption they're seeking in their fundraising, as well as whether that information would rise to the level of general solicitation that might maybe get them into some trouble. Now, with that said, of course, the back end to all of this is whether there are even investors being channeled into their website in the first place. But regardless, the information is there, and if it's on their site, they need to take that into consideration. Kyle, you mentioned the STO market. And obviously, since late 2017, early 2018, we've seen an explosion in that regard. And a lot of different projects over the last kind of like year and a half have really sought that out as a mechanism for fundraising. And we've definitely seen it dive off a little bit. And ironically, at least from my perspective, I think that if this were to happen in 2 years' time rather than happening right now, the industry would definitely be better prepared for this type of reaction. Because, I mean, we have third-party security token exchanges that have yet to launch and have been in development for 2.5 years. And so that ecosystem is still very much in its infancy. And so as we kind of see that slowly creep along and maybe get a little bit more robust, that'll provide kind of a little bit of a more alternative channel for those who are in the situation that we're in right now looking to invest.
Agreed. And it's going to be an exciting world when we get back there. And I'm going to come back to that point. Dion, I've held you off. We've had some great responses. Same question to you. I'm going to let you round us out on this question.
Appreciate it. You know, I think it's as Greg said, it depends who you are raising. I mean, what I'm saying, you know, we made 10 investments from our fund, and if you're a company raising, you know, things are so uncertain right now. What I'm seeing getting funded is follow-on rounds, right? Is the funds are going, okay, I'm a fund, are my cap calls being met? And I'm talking to other general partners at some other funds that they're not. So they're all of a sudden not getting the liquidity that they counted on. And now they're also then looking at their current portfolio and saying, well, I need to make sure that I see my companies through to success, which may actually mean investing more than I actually planned. So if you're the follow-on round and you're a current portfolio company, you're making sure you've got enough cash and liquidity to make it through this, to state the obvious. But I'm saying they're soaking up a lot of the current investment, certainly from the funds. And so the funds right now, I mean, a month, 6 weeks deep into this right now are you know, really a holding pattern for the most part on new investments. So if you're a company that's trying to raise and you are just getting ready to go out, or maybe you've been doing a road show and what have you, and you're trying to raise from venture funds, and we're looking at a number, but I would say more than ever, if you're that company, make sure that your fit for that fund is really, really tight. You know, the speculative type of investments and taking more risk, the risk quotient's gone lower. So look at the fund and get any intel you can, whether it's from the partners or analysts or any connections that you can get there, and understand where's that fund at. So for our fund, you know, we're not making any more investments out of this fund, but then we're starting our new fund in the fall. So we'll start in about July. So if you approach us today, I'd say, even pre-COVID, we're not quite there for a new deployment. We're doing follow-up rounds. But then look at the fund and get the intel and understand, okay, if you're a impact focused investment, or does that fund have a real affinity for the space you're in and you nail it? I'd have, you know, half as many conversations, but more laser focused there, and knowing that you fit and what your business does, they're going to have a passion. So really do your homework around that fund, and then also understand if you can get that intelligence, so to speak. Is that fund at a stage where they are making investments? Do they have the liquidity? And so, you know right away, you should be going into the conversation, I believe now, with that pitch, knowing that that fund is an expert in your space. I think all the generalists and funds that say, hey, we do multi-vertical, okay, you can try, but you're probably not going to get that far in this environment. But if it's a fund that says, I focus on what you're doing and I'm passionate about that, you've checked that box. That takes the first minute. That's pretty, you know, straightforward. And then what I'd say is, you know, if you are the early stage, or you're just coming out to market and raising, that time to revenue and real product market fit, where before, you know, and I think we're all, you know, shake our heads, it's the obvious, but where before we'd say, even if they have plenty of funding, they're going to pivot, like most companies probably along this trail, but they have enough, you know, liquidity and they've raised enough to make it 2 years. That timeline, I just see it hard for anyone to truly make that investment unless they can see, you know, this company has clients already. They know they're going to have revenues pretty quickly, or they're going to have it, you know, within 6 months, 12 months, and really at scale. If it's shifting to the other side, if you're a fund and you're out raising, I think it's like Greg said. I mean, for us, when we were looking at companies, we'd never invest unless we met in person. And we're in tech. We're nothing but fintech, and we're in the Bay Area. We're very comfortable with Zoom, but we'd always want to meet the entire team. Same as we've gone out and try and raise from fund to funds, you know, almost always it's sit in the room and read the body language, as multiple of us have said. I don't know. I think it's time, like right now, is just invest in the relationships and adjust to the new normal. And we don't know what that is yet. So start building, you know, the relationship on Zoom, because you don't have a choice. I think Dirk said, you know, we're stuck in our rooms. We pay Bay Area prices when we can't take advantage of Bay Area ecosystem. but that will change. But I do think, maybe last thing to add for time is, if you're a fund out raising, just my opinion from earning a fair amount of airline status in the last year, mostly seeing some public pension funds and others, is, they're not going to invest, I think, today, but there was still emerging manager programs. There was diversified owned programs. There, some CIOs that I know from public pension funds have even said, on one hand, I'm probably not going to invest in alternatives because I'm overweighted with the drop in equities. And others have said, I can't get alpha. I mean, maybe I can, but now I've got volatility in equities. And quite a few are saying to me, Dion, it's not going to be today, but I believe over the next 6 months and ongoing, you're going to see actually more push, into various, alternatives. So, but there's opportunities there. I take the view of just really build the relationships. I think there's still a fair amount of liquidity out there. It's just really questioning, is this the best home for my investment? And if you can really fit that, and get rid of the speculation and just go, okay, hey, know your prospect and spend all your time beforehand and come in, you're just super prepared. You still have a good chance, fund or company, to get funded if it's not immediate, just even in the coming months, I believe.
Yeah, and to add on to that, one thing I think people may tend to forget is we are all stuck in our homes. This is probably the one time, hopefully, that almost anybody you could want to get in touch with is accessible. The idea of a cold outreach, the idea of a connection, the early stage, the early foundations of those relationships can happen in times like this, unlike any other time. People, to Dirk's point, people in the Bay Area meet all the time for coffee, right? You bump into somebody, you have coffee, you see someone else, all of a sudden you have this great network. Right now, everyone is stuck in their own four walls and is looking for new ways to potentially reach out, get introduced, get educated. This is a great time to start growing that network. So don't hesitate in any way, shape, or form to reach out. We have these VCTV episodes again every week. This is why we do this. All of us are accessible in some way, and no reason you can't reach out and you can't ask a question. But before we get to our pitches, which we're about to, we've got 3 or 4 outstanding startups that are ready, who have been waiting, frothing at the mouth to get in front of each of our judges today. I want to do a quick lightning round. I've got questions for each of you, super quick answers, specific to where you're focused. Dion, I made you wait the longest last time. I'm coming to you first. Your focus in fintech. Is this the time that fintech takes off? Are we about to see fintech 2.0, 3.0 just surge because of the time and the era that we're going into right now?
Short answer, yes. I believe unequivocally is of our 10 investments, 8 of them are seeing their revenues increase relatively drastically because of COVID. So they're doing well in the world, and obviously, the human toll of COVID is tragic. But that touchless interaction, from that perspective, and in first world countries, they're seeing just literally the touchless ability to do financial transactions, pay bills, get a loan, etc. Will drive that. On the company side, I think the data analytics is still, and I think much of us know that story, but to be able to then make those loans, etc., at very low default rates, you combine those two, absolutely. I then layer on what you're seeing now. I believe, and it's early, but we're looking at some of our companies that are servicing what's called second and third world, and Mexico's not second world, but Mexico's and Brazil's and what have you, and the population there with smartphones in their hand, and you combine that with COVID. Traditionally, they may go and pay a Netflix bill by going into a 7-Eleven actually in their country is how it's done. Now they're going, I can't go in, or I don't want to go in, but now I have this device in my hand. And so, combination of the mobility, COVID, and data analytics, I think, fintech's hot. Now they take advantage of it, properly, and don't miss that opportunity.
Agreed. Again, we're all in our homes. We're all using fintech in different ways. Ashton's shaking his head left and right, up and down over there. Excited to get your takes in just a minute. Andrew and Yanina, question specific to both of you guys. Blockchain and crypto. Blockchain, we're seeing a surge of integration of the technology in many different ways. New, old, a lot of it's being tested. in certain ways. Same from the crypto market. So digital currencies, digital assets are starting to take off, being tested. Do you think coming out of this era that we're going to see maybe some stronger regulations imposed on companies because the technology has started to improve or really get a little bit more mature in market? So Andrew, let's start with you, and then Janina, we'll finish up with you. Andrew.
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely think the regulatory environment, it's been kind of like slowly creeping as honestly, the market cap of the cryptocurrency industry increases as well. People tend to pay more attention to it when it's doing significantly better comparatively. And from a regulatory standpoint, I think that they're definitely creating kind of these policies and procedures that are being implemented already, but definitely had no consideration over the kind of the innovative aspects of how digital assets are now transforming how we're changing hands of ownership in terms of whatever the underlying asset is. And just like to give you some little personal insight, our firm, we're seeing a lot of uptick in fintech applications for broker-dealer licenses, for a BIT license application in New York to be able to allow for exchanges to trade these types of digital assets and things like that, money transmitter licenses in the States, all that type of stuff. So we're seeing a really big uptick in companies that anticipate that regulatory clarity coming and really trying to get on the forefront of having the licensure that ensures them to have the success in the back end. So I think there's going to be more robust regulatory perspectives for sure, just from a byproduct of regulators paying more attention and then passing more policy that is going to be influential in how those companies can operate in the industry.
Janina, same to you. Turn. Yeah, I got caught on the mute button. Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks a lot. In terms of regulation, I would say that to be honest, Switzerland and Liechtenstein are already pretty advanced. Switzerland introduced and already has a draft for securities. I hope they're going to approve it this year. They were going actually to approve it in the beginning of the year, but because of all this situation, I think they will manage it to do it this year. Liechtenstein has managed to enforce the Liechtenstein Blockchain Act, which is a perfect base for assets tokenization. But just as Andrew told, the ecosystem around the assets tokenization is not that ready. And for now, I think it's being held up by the whole issues with fundraising. I think there will be not really. Well, more regulations are definitely going to come on the EU level in regard to stable coins, which you might have heard about, but it's not really because of the COVID. I think that the regulators are going to pay more attention on what is happening online for all the cross-border issues, because some of the projects used to, offer the security tokens online without not really taking care about the regulations in the specific country where they offer it. And I think Andrew is smiling. He's definitely familiar with this stuff. I think that regulators are going to pay more attention, and I believe that we are going to see the rise of STO, because it is supposed to be a quicker, faster, easier way for investments using these tokens. And the regulators are going to pay more attention on all the cross-border issues, where the prospectuses for security tokens, or where the exemptions are fulfilled or not.
I agree. And Frank, to you, I mean, right now with your company, are you seeing a growth in the need for secondary income markets, where people are looking to get loans or some kind of lending aspect to generate additional income?
Yeah, indeed. So we actually hope that at least in midterm, this will turn out so that we can always show that we kind of provided a corona-proof portfolio element. At least that we've heard from many investors that they were happy to have it in their portfolios. But generally, what I think is, as I said before, with the acceleration aspect, is that as a fintech, we are currently riding two waves. I think one is the obvious taking over usability, accessibility aspects that have dominating the market for maybe a decade or so now in the large consumer-facing platforms that we have, like Amazon, Facebook, and so on, and taking that to the finance world. So I think that's one wave. That's an obvious one, to have the same standards how users interact with a service as we have seen them there in retail, commerce, and so on. And the other aspect, the other wave, is that we have truly new products now being enabled by blockchain technology. So this could be something like what we are doing, like really alternative lending products, new income streams that are not correlated to any other markets. But this could also be something like more or less automated or more fair insurance products that are happening, or personal finance solutions that are emerging. So I think these are those two waves, making access to existing products better and easier, better to understand, and then having truly new services or solutions that haven't been possible before, but built up on a base technology like blockchain.
Mm-hmm. And Ashton, it's finally your turn. I see you shaking your head again, up, down, left, right, agreeing, disagreeing with everybody. Before we get into blockchain, actually, I want to start with blockchain, but then secondary, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how does the future of events look like? You brought up 3D, you brought up what Masari was doing with virtual events. Would love to hear how you guys have started thinking about pivoting for future events, as we're doing more of these here at LA Token in the virtual way. So first, thoughts on where things are going with blockchain. I know you got a lot to say. And then second, would love to hear your quick thoughts on events too.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. And I really liked the regulation and compliance discussion between Andrew and Yanina there. And, I just recently did an interview with CoolBitX, which is a compliance company looking at exchanges in Japan. And Japan seems to be, one of the hot spots for cryptocurrency exchanges that had a lot of, hacks and turmoil going on there. And it seems that they're now leading innovation towards regulation that is more similar to regulated exchanges and, for traditional stock exchanges. And we just saw, right after the interview, a day later, BitMEX banned Japanese users from trading on those cryptocurrency exchanges. And it seemed like the leveraging and margining limits are going to go down to, I think, 2x to 3x maximum. And right now you're seeing Binance and BitMEX trading at 100x leverage or 125x. So I just wanted to touch on that. It's interesting to see, with STOs, I think, we've been waiting for, 2018 was supposed to be the year of STOs. And it's sort of like these virtual events in VR, everything gets a little bit slower than we'd like it to, but we're going to see that trend coming through, and I just spoke with the Gibraltar Stock Exchange as well. It's doing a great job integrating blockchain into their regulated exchange. And I'm looking forward to when security token offerings will be available, and security tokens will be trading, and then the traditional stock market will be tokenized into those same exchanges. So that's something really to look forward to on that sense. In the events industry, Kyle, I think it's really uncertain. One of the most uncertain industries out of everything because of this COVID pandemic. And they're really playing it by ear in terms of, as society starts to open back up, countries will do it at different speeds. Some might be slower than others, but events and large scale events that have, over 10,000 people will probably be one of the last things to open up. We'll see non-essential services start opening up, people start going around, but at what point will people become comfortable going to an event with 10,000 people? It's interesting. A lot of people have taken a step back and looked at comparisons between, what are the benefits of in-person conferences, especially with these blockchain conferences. Almost everybody's flying in from a different part of the world, and there's a lot of travel costs. There's time spent traveling, time zone differences, adjusting, losing time working on your companies because you have to go travel. But then on the positive side, you get to see your friends and make new connections in person, right? So I think that a lot of companies are going to see the benefits of these Zoom and Remo virtual networking platforms, because you can get a lot done and save a lot of time and money by having the event on a format like this. So I think there will definitely be an increase in that, and that's here to stay. But at the same time, I think a lot of companies will do, maybe they'll do smaller events on Zoom and then they'll do a big event in person. But it's just a matter of waiting for the health authorities to determine, when will we be able to get back to events? And then will there be security regulations, whether it's, well, we already have blockchain-based tickets, which is great, but I could see on top of that, adding in biometrics, adding in other verification and identities, almost like a club watch, like a bar watch, but it'll be event watch. And I think that that's going to be something that's going forward, will be, and it could be built into applications. We actually had on the LA token here pitch 2 or 3 competitions ago, there was a fan engagement tool, which allows people to get into the game. And we're seeing in these National League sports, they're going to start opening them up, but without fans in the arena, and some of the players are curious how that's going to work because they won't have that environment. But there's a lot of virtual tools being built to be able to, vote on what's going to happen or try to engage virtually with these events. And I think that that's going to be a big use case moving forward. So, right now it's up in the air. And I think that it's great for a lot of event organizers that haven't done so yet to explore these 3D virtual worlds, because as virtual reality gets better graphics, better depth of field, people are going to almost prefer it because you can have a party on the beach, in 2 seconds, you can just put your virtual reality goggles on and be at the beach. So it's a lot of exciting technology to look forward to. And, I've done presentations in 3D worlds, and right now the graphics need to get a little bit better, but it's all going to happen in time. So there's a lot of great things to look forward to, and just be blessed that we do have the ability to connect virtually like this right now so easily.
We're working our way to the oasis here as we go. Dirk and Gayatri, big question for you. So Dirk, your company, working with, selling of virtual goods, virtual lands, is this world of digital assets and digital collectibles and gaming, as Ashton transitioned us to, do you see this as something that's going to surge, and that's something that's big on the investment scale here in this pandemic and this new era that we're entering? So Dirk, let's start with you. Gayatri, we're going to finish with you.
So I think that's a terrific question, and the answer to that is, especially when you were a consumer app and a consumer startup, right, in the last couple of years, kind of frustrated, right? You had Facebook and Google, taking always the big piece of the cake from you. But with blockchain, what's so interesting about it, because those 2 companies, they were based on advertising as their business model. Going forward now, of course, with blockchain, it's more the exchange of value, where people are willing maybe to pay something, to pay for the attention and all these kind of things, which is coming up, which is very interesting, which could be disruptive to those larger companies. But you see that already when I look at games. So games are becoming more and more communities where people spend time and money. And it's not what I said also in the beginning today. It's not about just spending money, also making money, in terms of, investments, making money in terms of, creating a small business out of it. This business can be happening directly in a game, or it can be, around the game or something. So there's a lot of new opportunities which are coming out right now because of blockchain, which makes me very hopeful. And does the pandemic accelerate that? Yes, in a certain way, especially when I look to what I'm doing right now with Upland. We're selling those virtual properties, but we're going beyond that. People will be able to open up businesses in Upland. And since we're based on the real world, right now we're live in San Francisco, you can see when you're a coffee shop, right? And I just give you one example, maybe, hope there will be not another pandemic, but you had to close it down. You're making 0 revenues right now. But if you build up something digital, right, you build a small community around your neighborhood, people can come in there and, play a virtual game or do something, maybe then you have an alternative way of income streams, right? And these are, I think, the new opportunities which are super exciting, which goes in with, let's say, virtual exchange of value, VR, AR, everything what's coming up, which will create new opportunities, especially in the startup world.
That's a great point to what both Ashton and Dion have mentioned as well. So this is exciting. And as our startups are getting ready for their competition and getting their pitches ready, Gayatri, same question to you, but slightly different. I mean, you're in the world of esports, sports, and blockchain. when it comes to sports and blockchains, are you seeing something like digital collectibles or digital assets really starting to thrive in these in-app purchases along with revenue opportunities?
A great question. I'm a big proponent of digital collectible. I have written
Same.
a piece on this in 2017. At that time, people still were trying to understand what digital collectible stands for and how does it goes. And I think it's still too early. I have been pitched multiple times. I remember one from Alchemist Accelerator. They were working with 49ers, one of the founder, and then one or two, but it's a it's at a very early stage. And I think digital collectible, how I look at the future is that it's the next Wall Street, because people can trade collectibles without even owning the entire piece of it physically. That's the future of commodities, because you can think about, you can own 1/10 or 100 part of a Michael Jordan jersey, and you can trade it on a platform. And I think that's the future of a tradable commodity. And obviously there are people who are rich who can afford to actually have a Picasso, art, but there will be a market that will be created through digital collectible. And I think sports plays a huge effect. We see all our baseball cards, from old days that are lying in our attic. Our grandfathers and fathers are saving them. And right now there's an opportunity. Can we take those on a digital market and create a tradable commodity? So I'm definitely very bullish about it, but I think the market is still too early. But having said that, I want to point out a few things that especially TMT sports, they have remained traditional for a very long period of time. They are trying to go digital. They're trying to absorb technology, but most of them, they uses all the legacy techs, and legacy techs a little bit like dinosaur. So nowadays with funds like ours, which has accelerator programs, we're seeing a lot of funds. They are actually having accelerator programs so that when we invest in post-seed or Series A at the accelerator program, we can pick up this amazing technology and pair them with the right business partners. That gives us, the kind of inflection point where we can see this agile tech can create this opportunity. But few of the things that I would like to point out, at the end of the day, whether you're in blockchain, esports, fintech, wherever you are, we are in a world of a product-led growth, okay? And it's very important to create a very decentralized product, user, and community. Your product needs to be agile. You need to have a very decentralized community. We are not in an era where most of our software goes through the sales-led growth. We talk to the executives, please take our product. No, that's not the case. Now, end users are finding the product. They're seeing an opportunity and they're telling, okay, let's use Calendly. Okay, let's use Slack. So any of these opportunities create similar sense, so there's nothing much of a change that is happening. It's just COVID-19 is bringing much more virtualization in effect, and we will see certain adaptability, especially towards augmented reality, especially towards other virtual platforms that has not taken off, will be taking off. We recently saw how Red Sox created an AR on Snapchat where people can actually go through that opportunity and see, the big stadium. So I definitely think that AR will play a huge effect in sports arena, especially watching live sports, because I don't think there will be sports playing with audiences, at least in this year. I know there's a lot of push coming from different sports league guys. And I was at NBA All-Star in February, and world was different, and now things have changed. But I definitely think this is an inflection point for every product owners to see that, okay, how can I make my product better? How can I make my product relevant? Because post-COVID, things are going to change. There will be a change in the social behavior that will lead a change in the market behavior. And your product, your platform should be ready for that change.
Couldn't agree more. And guys, everyone, thank you so much for all the great insights. We're going to pause here. We've got 3 amazing startups and founders who are here that want to share what they're working on and pitch each of us to get some feedback and see where things go. So we're going to take a moment. We're going to go through each of these startups. The way it's going to work, this part of this show, is each startup will have 5 minutes to present. During that time, they'll present their company, go through a pitch deck, and then we'll go on to the next. All questions will be held during this time till the very end, and I'll come back, call on each of you to give feedback to our founders. You also have access to a scoring sheet or a Google form. If you don't, send a quick note to the team in the chat, and Elena and everyone will make sure that you do have that. At the end, we'll total all of the rankings and scores and feedback, and we'll announce a winner for the show, in which Elena and the team will contact you afterwards for details on how that goes. So, startups, are we ready? Thumbs up. All right. Johan, I've seen you throw the thumbs up emoji a couple times. I know you're first. I won't make you wait like I did Dion, but let's, you're down in this corner. Let's kick off with you. Again, speakers, hold all questions, write them down until the very end. We got 3 startups we're going to run through real quick, and I'll make sure everyone gets a chance to get feedback. So without further ado, Johan, welcome to the show, and the floor is yours.
Thank you everyone. Okay, I will break the ice as the first speaker. My name is Johan Kohlberg. I'm the founder and the managing director of BuySSL. BuySSL is a biometric security platform founded in 2016 and has more than 20 years biometric experience. Today, cybersecurity exists out of passwords, tokens, SSL, which stands for the S on the HTTPS, and two-factor authentication. Now, there is still more than $100 billion stolen yearly. And here we come in fact, we created a biometric password. In fact, it is a one-time password. And we created it by fingerprints, it's a hash, or face, or voice. And it's a unique key. Now, during the registration, what we do is we send the key to the server where it's linked to the user. When that user wants to do an authentication process online for an asset or buying something or sending something, then we take, again, based on his fingerprint, face, or voice, a unique key, and the algorithm on the server verifies that user is the same user with even 2 different keys. So what is our challenge? We have already developed it, it's market ready, we have won 2 awards, but we want to go higher, and we go to level 4 in the cybersecurity. Level 4 is the highest level in cybersecurity, and we can do that thanks to the blockchain. And how does it go? We gave it the code name YOBI, which stands for Your Biometrics, and we're really going to dive into the blockchain. And this is how we will do it. The same hash that you saw in the beginning, we cut it in 2 parts. We cut it in a private biometric key and a public biometric key. The private one we store in our private blockchain, and the public one becomes, in fact, the address of the wallet that then later can link to whatever public blockchain there is in the market. So if you see it, you got user A, you got user B, they got their wallet address, and they can communicate with each other, sending from A to B and B to A back based on their address. But they can only get access to the asset or the transaction with their private biometric key that is also stored in a private blockchain. So what is our revenue model? We've got 3 parts. The one is based on the users in the database. It's a one-time fee. The other one is pay per transaction, a tiny fee, and the cost of the integration. Now, I'm not going to show all the figures here, but we brought them all together. Today, there are about 9,500 trillion transactions per year. And we made some assumptions. Let's say we have 0.01% of that market, and we would charge $0.2 cent per transaction. We will come to about a figure almost $20 billion. Our roadmap has 4 parts, 4 queues. And the first queue is the integration to a private blockchain that we still need to develop. And we have already the BuySSL, we've got the API. Then we go in beta testing. And an important one, and then perhaps one of the lawyers that I've saw, is the legal aspect. We are trying to get access to the Secure Exchange Commission, that all we do is according to privacy and know your customer and anti-money laundering. Then Q3 will launch YOBI, and 4 we will increase our presence worldwide. And last but not least, we are not a token, we're not a cryptocurrencies, but we have, in fact, all the ingredients to be a stable coin. But that is to be seen later. Our team, yeah, we're not youngsters. We are 40 plus, almost, yes. So, okay. This is the competition, not going into in details, but in general, in fact, the competition in biometrics for authentication is a local, it's done by mobile phone, it's a local process by iPhone or Samsung's, and we do mobile, we do the desktop, and also we are at the end, know your customer, and I show below what we also have in difference to other ones is this public-private key and going for the blockchain. Our market is everything related that is online between the physical user and the digital world. So we have also now contacts with the government, we have interest from the banks, and surely from the cryptocurrencies and the blockchain projects. We raised already 270K. With that, we developed Buy Sell. We won 2 awards. We have 1 move assigned from a government. We have 6 blockchainings that are in fact young startups that have developed a blockchain application and they want to secure it. And latest now is coming up that strangely through this pandemic, we have interest from banks who want to decentralize and digitalize everything related to their customer and their bank accounts. What we're looking for is 2 million euros. We are open for equity. It can be sequential funding. It means it can be partly in our growth. Because we're from the UK, we can also have a possibility for the investors for a tax relief. And but not least, the biggest part of the cake from the funding goes through marketing and research and development. So that's it. Thank you and stay safe.
Awesome. Johan, thank you so very much. Okay, up next, Jan.
Hello.
Jan, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Floor
Great.
is yours.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think Johan needs to stop sharing.
Yep, Johan, you gotta stop the share.
Yeah,
While you're doing that, speakers, just as a reminder, make sure you're taking notes for any cues that you have. We'll be getting to them at the end. And you should have your scoring card that you're inputting the scores to submit to Elena. Jan, floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi from Brooklyn. We are Flyon. Our business model is to sell flying pineapples to millennials. Just kidding. We are a travel and insurtech startup. So let me ask you a quick question first. How many of you guys travel to Puerto Rico? Well, I guess I recommend everyone to check it out. So this is me on the left after 2 weeks at the beach. And this is me on the right, being miserable at the airport because of flight delays. I'm sure that everyone can relate to it. Next thing I know, my life could be terrible for months, battling to get my insurance claim approved and paid out. Not only the insurance players are providing a mediocre process. There's some feedback now. I don't know if someone can mute. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jan, can you go on mute, please?
Johan, I guess.
Sorry.
Yep, so Johan, sorry.
Okay, so not only the insurance players are providing mediocre experience for the users, but they're also missing out on huge revenue opportunities because of non-returning customers. So how do we come in? Flyon simplifies the customer journey. We first bring great insight to the travelers in terms of disruption and delays. Second, by automating the claim, we make it so simple that the only thing left for the travelers to sit back and relax. And finally, our platform processes payments in minutes, not months. So how do we do it? So first, we have a great team. We combine a total of 3,000 years of experience. Just kidding, more like 130 years. We also decentralized, which is, ironically, in the age of COVID, a great benefit. So far, we haven't been disrupted. And finally, we have great footprints in a large amount of industry, which is well needed for that project. Secret sauce number 1 on the tech side, blockchain. So our smart contracts are autonomous policy that detect flights and activate automatically. Second, our auto settlement system get rid of the overheads and process in minutes. And finally, we introduced the concept of what we call decentralized insurance, which is quite frankly the future of the business. Secret sauce number 2, we predict delays, and that's done by a machine learning algorithm that does 3 things. First, as mentioned, we provide great forecast information for the travelers for decision making. Second, our calculation engine is a minimizing cost engine, and it's also providing the best price possible. And finally, Fion is an effective risk management tool that preserves capitals for ourselves and for our investors. So what do we think we have the path to success? So we have great vision for the product, and we view that journey as a flight to the sun. And while it's very ambitious, it's also very exciting. And we started out by creating a category of microinsurance and micropayments, which are simple to use. And we view that COVID experience as not so much of an obstacle, but more as an opportunity for us to offer a different way and a different value proposition for the traveler. Midterm, the modularity of the platform is going to allow us to deploy to other verticals. So you can think about phone insurance, car insurance, or other industrial IoT businesses. And finally, we want to reach to the uninsured and offer affordable policies to everyone. So speaking of the clientele, was the GTM. We're starting out by a niche retail market and brand ourselves as #1 travel insurance for startups. Second, for the small, medium enterprises, we offer a unique 45-minute delay protection, which is both great for frequent and connecting flyers. And as for the B2B2C segment, we approach travel ops and agencies. So what is with the competitive landscape? So we identified 2 risk assumptions, simplicity and vision. And so far, we believe that Fion check all the boxes. On the flip side of it, both the underdogs and the dinosaurs of the traditional insurance are essentially failing to meet those objectives. Let's take a second to reflect on our achievements. First, we have a beta ready to be tested online, both aesthetic and great to use. I invite everyone to check it out. Second, we have the great news to announce that we are part of the Accelerator VI spring-summer cohort. We're starting next week. Very exciting. And finally, we also have great footprints with the blockchain and crypto community. And we had a blast at the Sandcastle contest back in Wyoming in September. So we'll need money in 2020. Target raise is anywhere between $500,000 and $750,000, which should help us survive for 18 months. And we'll be spending the money for blockchain, tech, web design, support for the most part, and small buckets for legal, marketing, and advisory. Thanks everyone for listening. Open for questions. And don't forget to check us online and social media.
Thank you very much, Jan. Really appreciate it. David. Oh,
you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I hope to share my screen. Something is blocked my. No, I can't. You see something?
It's starting screen share. I think Elena's helping you out right now.
Okay, maybe I start.
Yes, please.
David, could you share another screen? Because we can see the video, we don't see the pitch deck.
Yeah,
you shared the wrong screen.
So again, to our speakers, make sure that you're turning in your scoring for each and every startup, getting your questions ready. After David, we'll pause and we'll go back and get feedback. And
I start with my pitch. Maybe I start with my pitch. Maybe
we don't see your slides. Could you open them right now? Because again, we can see the screen with Kyle on it.
The slide is open.
So
maybe
now it works.
I stop.
Oh, we just had it.
Yes.
We just had it. Yeah.
Could you go back? Because we've just seen them.
And now,
as we talked about in this new era of virtual events, there's a lot of learnings and little tips and tricks to learn. So we're all getting through those. David, we see the slide now. If you want to go ahead and start, we can go.
Yes. Okay, hi, my name is David, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of Neuropet. Neuropet solves the huge pain of pets householders and veterinarians, especially on dogs, a device that diagnoses pain, sickness, emotion, and behavior. And we are in retail and healthcare verticals. So a little about me. I have 20 years experience in technology, former CTO at Israel Security Agency. About 2 years ago, I sold my holding in a company that I founded to establish a Neuropet. I also have partner, Professor Natan Interator, and Sharon. She is expert in behavior and trainer the dogs. So Neuropet has developed a new exciting technology based on brain signal analysis with 3 non-invasive miniature sensors placed on the dog forehead. We can understand dogs' feels in real time, diagnose pain before become aliens and psychological symptoms such epilepsy. We can diagnose if the puppy wants a pee or poo before he pee, and transmit over the mobile by voice and text. We use AI tech, machine learning, and deep learning. We're actually converting dog to be electrical biological sensor. Imagine how we can help with professional sniffing dogs to detect viruses. And for example, the pandemic situation, there is a research approved dog can diagnose viruses and in a second. Let's talk about number. The pet market is a huge growing market. The US size market reached 100 billion market and more 250 billion all over the world with annual growth of 5% each year. This information only about the registered dogs. The studies show that the numbers are bigger than double. The US pet tech market size reached 25% of the market, registering annual growth of 50%. In the US, it's about $20 billion. Neuropet saving life. We can support remote diagnostic and monitoring dog health and transfer the information directly to the veterinarian. We are faster and cheaper. The diagnostic we provide today are only done in hospital using expensive equipment. Another vertical we will become in the data we collect, analyze, and selling license. We have no competitor who can using our technology and understand what dog feel and support in real-time medical diagnostics. Neuropet based on technology that has proved and researched on human, and we are in advanced stage of FDA approval. Our business model based on selling devices and subscription, regular and premium fee. We intend to B2B market, at this time through collaboration with leading distributor and veterinarian. We have a prep product. We have a very exciting MVP. We are looking to raise $2 million to proceed the technology and establish a partnership and marketing.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, David. All right, one last reminder to our speakers and judges, please make sure you get those scores all tallied up and inputted into your form so that Elena can get those totaled up and we can announce our winner at the end. David, can you go ahead and stop sharing your screen, please?
Yes, sure. Sorry.
All right. No worries.
It's okay now? Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Thank you. So let's go ahead and begin with David. I want to see if anyone has any questions or feedback for David and what he's working on. Gayatri, I saw you come off mute first, so I'm going to call on you.
Yeah. Congratulations, David, on what you're doing. I actually was a part of something like this as an investor. So I'm very excited to know what you're doing because just a disclaimer, I don't own pets and I never will because I have a 18-month-old son. So he's quite handy as good as pet. So it's a very interesting market, and I got to know a little bit more about this market when I got associated with that particular startup. Are you creating a biomatrix around his neck, and which is like a data analytics solution or whatever the physical activity is doing, and you're gathering that data?
Yeah, yes. It's a device. We placed a tiny sensor on the forehead of the dogs, okay, with a collar. In the collar, there is the transmission, and the battery. And we transmit the raw data of the brain signals to the cloud. In the cloud, there is a very complicated algorithm, and we download in real time, all in real time, the results to the mobile of the householders by voice and text. It can be in WhatsApp, it can be in social media. We are open API to connect whatever you want, but now we are focused on own app to supply with the device.
One of the things excited me about this particular project is that as of now, there's no data that exists directly from the pet, because whatever we see, it's like a secondary behavior directly coming from the pet owner. So you are, it's going to be a very first time a direct response coming from the pet, and no such data as of now exists. As I said before, how are you going to find out that because of this particular behavior of the pet, this data analyzes this kind of disease or this kind of change in behavioral pattern? Or are you trying to research? I mean, that's one of the reasons that's one of the area that's a little bit of a, like a black hole. So
Yes,
I'd love to know your thoughts.
I tell you a secret: kids and dogs are the same data. So
the only thing is that the kids go to college, the dogs don't.
Yeah. So we have own dogs. We have a lot of experience. We have a lot of text. 1,000 of data we collect. We based on AI and deep learning and machine learning. We are now 80% accuracy for some segment or feature that we can show, like pee before he pee, and like barking, tense, pain, some kind of pain. We need more than a year to collect more data and design the device to go to a product. So if you based on machine learning, so the customers or the veterinarian, the healthcare can robust the data and participate with us to make it very mature. Okay, like all type or all kind of AI devices or machines.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Dirk, any comments or feedback for David?
Yeah, I have actually a question. So have you tested how much people would be willing to pay for such a consumer play, the way I understand it, right? And how would you get to those?
Okay. Okay, we are now in a validation. Look, in US, there is 100 million householder or dogs registered all over the US, and that is the US market. Also, there is pets, other pets like cats and etc. Now we focus on dogs only. There is other technology, wearable technology like location and some things like and there is a lot of customer pay for that. And we are much wide market because, for example, if you buy a new puppy by between $1,000 and $5,000, okay, and we can give you the alert when he wants a pee or poo, when he is happy before he acts. I think it's obvious to buy the system with the dog, okay? Or people adopting dog, or the healthcare. If the vets want to monitor and to diagnose what happened, what's it's the dog, or the vets want to monitor of the pain, okay? It's directly to the vets. So in the future, we have a vision. It's HLS and Army and etc. and license for other pets like cats, race horses, and there is a lot of customer that write for collaboration for others animals, but now we focus on the big market, and I think the market is uncapped, is huge, is growing. This pandemic, Corona, this era, the markets grow by 50%. It's crazy what's going in this market. There is no regulation. There is no barrier to get into the market.
Awesome. Thank you, David, and thank you, Dirk, as well. So I want to move on to our next startup. Jan, have a few questions and feedback for you as well. Ashton, I want to start with you. Any questions or feedback quickly for Jan?
Definitely. First of all, start with a great presentation. I would love to give a disclaimer as well. I actually have spoken alongside of Jan at the Fireside Chat at the World CryptoCon. So, you know, I do know him previously, but also I can vouch for the quality of his work. And he was.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
So,
asking your advice, I did not know that. As another disclaimer. So you're still up, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, a lot of people have been talking about the airline industry as of recently, and I think this is a great opportunity to introduce new technology for risk management, for accuracy. So definitely, you know, a lot of people like Chamath Palihapitiya, you know, from Virgin Galactic was just talking about should the airline industries be bailed out? And he thinks no, because new players are going to come in, more innovative players, which will be introducing technology like Jan's technology to increase the efficiency and innovate in the airline industry. So I think in terms of timing, this is probably one of the perfect times to be doing so. And, you know, I'm definitely going to, I think it was a great presentation overall. The fact that he had great calls to action, I will check out the beta. Overall, I would say it was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Janina, any questions or feedback for Jan? Oh, you're on mute.
Well, no, not really. I would thank you a lot, Jan, for the great presentation. And I think, well, I'm not really able to assess whether it's a great time for the market, but I believe since the whole aviation industry would have to become more efficient because of what is happening now, it might be really a good time to introduce your project.
Sounds great. Thank you. Andrew, any feedback for Johan, our very first startup that went? Any feedback or questions for Johan?
Yeah, for sure. So Johan, just full disclosure, I sit on the board of an identity verification company that's based on the blockchain called Verify. And one of the biggest concerns that our clients have in the legal side is verifying not only in the investor base, but also users of the subsequent platform that they're developing. So do you see your product more being a solution that businesses will use or individual users will use? I know that you kind of lended towards the former in the presentation for sure. I'm just wondering if there was a market opportunity as well for a user base that isn't strictly in the B2B professional context.
Yes, in fact, our goal with Yobi is that it is for everyone. That if you're doing a transaction for PayPal or you want to go get into your Zoom, that you are already registered on the platform of Yobi, and Yobi is in fact your security, that you're sure that nobody's going to use your identity. So it is really also consumer. If you go into our website, there is we have even products that are linked to Yobi, like my national identity number, where we are in discussion with the government in Africa, where population can register themselves through mobile phone to get a national identity number. And so that we secure with biometrics, and at the same time, we secure also the identity. It was only 5 minutes, the pitch, so I had to reduce it, and it has a lot of potential and a lot of possibilities. So we are already market ready, like I said, but with the blockchain, we're going, in fact, to the much higher security, because there is always, I'm giving seminars, and one of the issues are, what about my data? I'm giving something for myself, and it's all stored somewhere in the cloud, and that is what we're really securing, that and giving them. Nobody can use it, and even when they steal it and hack it, they can't re-engineer your original biometrics.
Awesome. I want to pause right there. Dion, any quick thoughts or questions for Johan?
Yeah, no, thanks all. Unfortunately, I've got to drop off, and it's just my feedback. So take it as a grain of thought. Is 5-minute pitches are super difficult. My feedback would be Johan, great company, great pitch. When I think of, and it's not my area, we've done in the past some investments. We're not right now in the security side, so I'm not the expert. But just a general pitch feedback, my perception would be in security, it's all about the team. I mean, certainly the market and what have you. 5-minute pitch, super hard. But I think I'd spend the majority of that. It was me going, look at the team that I have. I saw the slide briefly, and as fast as I could read, it looked pretty impressive. But I'd dwell more on that in a 5-minute pitch. Jan, I think the elephant in the room for me was just, what's the current market? What does it mean for you? A couple of comments that you all made, but is the current market a good thing, or is it a terrifying thing? And I'd make the pitch of, hey, this is a great thing for me to be, selling this. And David, for what it's worth, is certainly I love the idea, and I know I spent some time in life sciences, so I appreciate in the pet world you don't have the FDA approvals and some other things, but I didn't, and I may have missed it, I didn't see anything on the team, and maybe that's coming together. But just my question was, boy, I really like the idea, and I'm assuming the technology works, but how's the execution? Is it you, or do you have a team? I'm sure it's there. Like I said, 5-minute pitch is pretty tough, but that was what came up in my mind. Awesome. And thank you guys for pitching.
Awesome. Thank you as well, Dion. Appreciate it. I know you have to jump, but again, thank you everyone, to all of our speakers, and also thank you to all of our founders for sharing what they've been working on to each of us. Without further ado, we have gotten the scores in, so I do want to announce today's winner. After I announce it, we'll go through each of the founders, a quick where can everyone find you, and then we'll do the same for the speakers, and we'll wrap up for the day. Without further ado, Johan. Congratulations. Today you are our winner. Silent cheers and celebration. You got golf claps everywhere. We're super excited for you. Even an emoji clap as well. Congratulations. Let's start with you. Where can everyone find you? Website and also you yourself online.
Yeah. Thank you. Really, I'm emotional. It's the third time that it happens that I win something. I can tell you, well, you don't see it in the pitch. We won the CSAMS Awards for the best cybersecurity solution. And we were just a startup, very small budget. And it's on YouTube. Once we get some more familiar, I'll show you. And I can tell you when I won the award, I cried. So I'm not crying now, but it is, we are already, we are in our expertise. We know what we're doing. We know how biometrics is. We are in counterterrorism. We catch terrorists. We do face recognition at places where you don't know they are there. And in 2016, we downscaled the technology, the military technology, to in fact protect the identity and protect also the provider. You didn't saw anything on my slides about the corona, because I got a principle. It's not COVID-19 that's going to give us business. I don't want to be part of something which is horrible and win money with it. If I could, I would even give it for free, which is impossible. But on the other hand, we want to increase the communication to people and surely the social part. So I hope one day I can hug you, but today we need to find a solution to be part of it. And there is in fact a really attraction coming up from we got a venture capital in the United States that came to us 3-4 weeks ago. I'm not going to mention the name. They're on the stock market and they created a kind of a branch for blockchain companies, and they're now contacting us, which would never happen before.
That's great. Johan, we're super excited. Where can everyone find you? What is your URL? We got to get through everybody
sorry,
here. Yeah,
okay.
Where can everyone find you?
Okay,
Again, congratulations.
So myobi.com.
Okay, perfect.
Myobi.com, and we've got another site which is much more in products. But
awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you and congratulations today. Jan, same to you. Where can everyone find you? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I will do it.
Yeah, thanks everyone. It was a blast. Congratulations, Johan. Great presentation. So we are at flyon.io. Our beta is flyon.io/beta. And we are obviously LinkedIn, very active. We have a Twitter account, Reddit, Instagram, and Facebook. So we're pretty much everywhere. I can send more information. And I had like a last question for David, if he's still on the call. Can you help me with my pet, with my penguin?
Perfect transition, David. Where can everyone find you?
Of course.
What is your URL?
pet.com.
Awesome.
And in the in the LinkedIn, we are very active.
Wonderful. Thank you. So to our founders, thank you very much. Again, congratulations, Johan. For our speakers, same thing. Quick wrap up. Where can everyone find you? Janina, we're going to start with you.
Well, thanks a lot for all the great pitches and all the insights. I believe it's really a great experience, to see so many great people from around the world and to see your insights from the industries. Our homepage, our website is blockchain.rlp.li for Liechtenstein. You might find me on YouTube. I'm doing a little blog on regulations. It's not that popular, obviously. Regulations are normally not that sexy. Also LinkedIn. We are active on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter.
Today is the day that changes your show. It's going to blow up. Everyone's going to start watching it. Thank you, Janina, for joining us today. Andrew, over to you.
Yeah, for sure. My firm's website is bullblockchainlaw.com, or just Google my name. You'll find me.
All right, there you go. .com and a Google. Dirk, down to you.
All right, hi. So concerning my company, first of all, thank you, LA Token, to organize everything here. It's a great event show. So you can find my company Upland under upland.me. You can find me either on LinkedIn or on my Twitter. It's Dirk Leitner, the full thing just written out.
Awesome. Thank you. Ashton, over to you.
Thanks, Kyle. You can find me on YouTube if you YouTube Crypto Coin Show or Ashton Addison. As well, if you do have a virtual event that you're looking to host, or you're looking to find other virtual events like this one, go to eventchain.io, and there's a giant list of blockchain-based events on there. And if you want to connect with me personally, just LinkedIn, Ashton, Addison, I should be the only one there. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Gayatri, close us out as the speakers wrap up. Where can everyone find you?
Thank you for inviting me, especially Alina and LA Token. And thanks, Kyle, for those amazing questions that you have been asking. Great presentations by everyone, quality project. So super excited to be here. You can find me on Twitter at GS_VC activist, or you can search Gayatri Sarkar. And I also have a channel called she-VC, she-VC, where I actually use the platform to talk about many VC partners of billion-dollar funds, multi-million-dollar funds, and you can get access to how venture capitalists work, how they pitch, how things are. So to know more about the details, you can either follow the she-VC YouTube or the LinkedIn, and you can get more details. And I am super excited to connect all of you, but I would love to get the emails and other informations from other entrepreneurs so that I can share these details with others. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. You've got 3 new shows to watch today. If you weren't paying attention on our closeouts, definitely check them out. A huge shout out to our team, Elena and the LA Token team, for putting all of this together and bringing us together today. This has been another episode of VC TV. Thank you to all of our founders. Thank you to all of our speakers. And I'm Kyle LeConte. Thank you very much. We'll see you back here soon.